What's up, everybody? My name is Isaac Huss, and today I'd like to talk about unwritten dating rules and which ones might just be worth reconsidering. Like it or not, dating is a game, and there are rules. The problem is, of course, that there's no official rule book for this game, so there's no guarantee that any two people are going to be on exactly the same page when it comes to the do's and don'ts of romance. In fact, I'm tempted to say that this is one of the hardest parts of dating, especially in the year of our Lord 2023. There are rules, they're unwritten, and there might even be as many interpretations of those rules as there are people to adhere to them. I'm getting frustrated even thinking about it. But that's not to say these unwritten rules are all bad. It's vitally important to have standards and boundaries, of course. And even having a basic set of standard operating procedures can really help us make sense of the vast amount of gray area that exists in romantic relationships, which not only can be unpredictable, but sometimes even disorienting. So, unwritten dating rules can be good, but they can also sometimes be counterproductive if misapplied, or even given an improper level of importance. And if we're not careful, they can ultimately become a hindrance in our dating lives and lead to frustration and confusion. So with all that said, here's 4 unwritten dating rules that might be worth kicking to the curb. Number 1, the man has to make the first move. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk gender roles in dating. I'm very much a traditionalist for the most part when it comes to my own dating philosophy. And so as a man, I'm happy to be the one who initiates the conversation with a woman, asks her for her number, asks her out on a date, plans the date, pay for the date, and so on. It's how I prefer to do it. It's what I'm comfortable doing. It's what my experience has shown that women prefer, and I think it works. That all being said, I'm all for women taking the lead in any or all of the situations I just mentioned. And hot take time. I would say any man who claims otherwise is simply lying. How do I know? Well, try my hottest person in the universe test. As in, if the hottest person in the universe was involved, how would you feel? Because let's be real, if Taylor Swift initiated a date with a guy, any guy, regardless of how trad he was about gender roles, I'm willing to bet he'd be into it. And that he'd be willing to compromise on the subject. So what if you're not T Swift and you still want to let a guy know that you're interested? I'd say not only is that okay, I'd say this is actually how most relationships start anyway, even if you don't even realize it. Sure, there are some men who are confident enough, or even crazy enough, to approach a woman cold and ask her out. But more often than not, it's the woman who actually gives a man a reason to think she's interested. Even if it's as subtle as a little smile or some brief eye contact that prompts the first exchange. When it comes to CatholicMatch in particular, you'd better believe we're checking to see who views our profiles, and sometimes that'll even prompt me to reach out myself. So the question to me then is not if women should be initiating romance, it's just how much initiating is appropriate. And I'd say, well, whatever you're comfortable with, and maybe a little bit more. Worst case scenario, the man will be flattered, and likely also impressed by your own confidence. Number 2, don't accept a same-day invite. Once upon a time, I wouldn't even attempt to ask a woman out on a date that would happen that same day, because that would be interpreted as me not valuing her time. It doesn't seem like that's as universal of a held preference as it used to be, but there are still plenty of women who expect to be invited on a date at least a day in advance, if not 2 or 3 or more. And I get it. I do have a particular female friend who's noticed certain guys will be radio silent for days and even weeks sometimes, only to pop up back on the radar on a Friday afternoon with an invitation for later that evening. That sort of thing can totally give the impression that she was not his first choice, but rather a backup plan. Or worse, something of an afterthought altogether. That doesn't mean that all same-day invitations are coming from that kind of perspective. Besides, even if he did have other plans that fell through, you could take it as a compliment. Perhaps you were the first woman he thought of when he realized he was free for dinner. Personally, I'm more than happy to plan a date well in advance with someone I see as a priority. But then again, if I meet someone I like or match with someone online who I'm excited about, I want to go out with them on a date sooner rather than later. Because why wait? What should be more alarming, though, is if a man or a woman is showing himself or herself to be only interested in making plans with little or no lead time. So if you sense it becoming a pattern, by all means, feel free to say something. But if it hasn't gotten to that point, I'd say give him or her the benefit of the doubt. Number 3, you have to clearly and immediately articulate your intentions. One of the recurring themes I'll hear from women is that they want men to be more transparent, and in particular, more vocal about what their intentions are when initiating a conversation, and especially when extending any sort of invitation. One way this played out in real time for me was when I met a woman recently at a conference earlier this year, and we had a nice conversation together, and by the end of it, I asked her for her number. She said, sure, but do you mean like go on a date or just as friends? I appreciated her candor and explained that since we weren't going to be living nearby for a while, I had mostly intended it just to keep it on a friendship level. But it was at least somewhat telling to me that it was something she wanted to know ASAP and was ready to verbalize that. At least one single buddy of mine, though, thinks that there can be a tendency to overemphasize this sense of needing clarity in relationships. And that an obsession with knowing someone's exact intentions could spoil something before it had a chance to develop. And that leaving a certain level of mystery is a good thing, especially at the beginning. There certainly are guys who just need to man up, of course, and ask women out on real dates, and otherwise be more intentional and communicative in the initial stages of relationships, sure. But what might appear to be a guy dragging his feet, or even playing the field, might just be a guy who's wanting to be thoughtful and deliberate about who to pursue and how quickly. And the best course of action might just be to give him space and to let the thing breathe before demanding an explicit conversation to clarify the relationship. And number 4, don't meet the family right away. Okay, it might seem counterintuitive to argue in one breath for more relationship ambiguity and spontaneity, and in the next breath to propose that we should be introducing more potential love interests to our families. And maybe it is. But hear me out. I think the whole scary meet the parents thing has been blown somewhat out of proportion, and it actually can be quite helpful in evaluating new flames. No, I'm not suggesting that your second or third date be the family Thanksgiving meal. But I do think the sooner, and yes, casual, you can make an introduction to the people who you know the best and who know you the best, the better. Besides, the goal is to find someone with whom to spend the rest of our lives together, after all. I want to know what my family and close friends think of the people I date, even if it's just a brief first impression. I want to know what my dates think about my family and friends. And the sooner I have all that data, the better. The ideal scenario is that my sister, brother, or one of my best friends are out and about, and I can just swing by with my date and have a beer and make some quick introductions, and then, well, get out of there. I even have a buddy who will plan a date and also encourage some of his friends to go out someplace separately. And then if things go well on the date, he can merge the two gatherings. And even if that's not exactly my style, one of the most important things I can know about someone is whether she can hang with the people closest to me. So why wait to find that out? All right, everybody, that's all I got for you today. But what do you think? What's an unwritten dating rule that you're happy to break? Or maybe you wish your date would just disregard? That's what that comment section below is for. Let me know your thoughts on this video or any future topics you'd like me to cover. And feel free to pass on some of your own wisdom into the comment section. If you like what you heard, give it a like, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos, and I'd even recommend hitting that bell so you're notified when a new video is released. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all very soon.